Good morning, Gateway. It was like they said on top of that mountain, I think it was Peter said, it's good to be here. So it's good to be here. Thank you. And thanks, Mike. Mike and Paul are wonderful. There's so many really wonderful people down here in Caledonia. I don't know what it is, if it's something in the stuff you're eating or the water you're drinking, but you guys are great. I want to begin this morning with just a question. What is one way that you experience God's presence during the day? I want you to think about that and answer that to yourself. What is one way that you experience God's presence? I can rephrase it. What's a pathway that causes you to become aware of God during your day? Okay? And enter His presence. So think on that. It's important because we're going to talk about this morning. And I do have one more question for you before we kind of dive in here. And it flows out from that first. What do you think is the biggest thing that hinders you from becoming aware of God during your day? What's the thing that hinders you most from entering God's presence? Dr. Dallas Willard, a well-respected teacher and theologian, answered this very question when he gave advice to John Ortberg, who had just started pastoring a large church. And Dr. Willard had been kind of mentoring Pastor Ortberg, and Ortberg was focused on drawing near to God, and he had tried a whole bunch of contemplative practices to do so. And one day, he asked Dr. Willard, what must I do to get closer to God? To really connect with Him, to become more aware of Him, to encounter His presence? That's a great question. This is what we focus on, actually, up at Three Crosses. Are you guys interested in Dr. Willard's answer? Yes. Thank you. Good. This is what he said. John, you must ruthlessly eliminate all hurry from your life. Whoa. John thought, that's a really good one. That's a good one. And he wrote it down. And then he sat there and waited for more comments from his wise mentor. And he's like, what else? What else? And Dr. Willard calmly responded, and he said, there is nothing else. There is nothing else. You must ruthlessly eliminate all hurry from your life. And I read this 17 years ago, and then I've never forgot it. And the Lord brings me back to it on a regular basis, probably because I hadn't learned how to do this moment by moment yet. Eliminate hurry, that is. I mean, I've experienced it. I slow down. I'm able to enter the moment without hurry at certain moments in the day, and it's wonderful. And whenever I do this, I become aware of the beauty of everything. Just the beauty of being, of life itself. And things slow down, and I naturally become aware of Him. And praise and thanks just kind of rise up. It's almost a natural thing. If you're up there and you're peeking into my backyard, which I don't really have neighbors, and you see me walk out one day in the yard, you'll often see me just lift my hands up and just praise. And that's an encounter in the moment, just praising Him, how glorious it is, His creation. Now, when I'm talking about eliminating hurry, I want to say that I'm not necessarily talking about the speed with which you move at physically. I mean, sure, it helps to get still, like when you start your day in your quiet time chair, very important. But this is also about the rhythm and pace up here in your mind. How, during your day, how busy is your mind? That was just a minute and a half. But things seem to slow down when we stop. I mean, we think about so many things during the day, and sometimes we think and feel through several of these things at the same time. Multitasking with the brain hinders your ability to be centered, to be present in the moment. And without that, you can't meet with God. Because you can only meet with God in this present moment, right now. You can't meet with God in the past, you can't meet with him in the future. This is the only time that you can ever meet with God is in the present moment. It's all you've got. And so hurry and rush in the mind and in the heart and in the body are the chief obstacles that we face with regard to becoming aware of God and encountering him in the present moment. And Jesus, he really calls us to this whole rhythmic, slow-paced life. Are you tired? Worn out? Burned out on religion? Come to me, Jesus says. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me, and work with me, and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me. That's probably one of my favorite parts in there. Keep company with me, Jesus says, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. This verse will be familiar if you've been up to Three Crosses because it's attached to the center cross of the lower three crosses. And this is actually my life verse. It's what I strive for. I haven't arrived. But to live freely and lightly in the unforced rhythms of his grace. Go through the day like that. And I think that in our day and age with phones and the internet and the economy and the desire for more, hurry and rush are just becoming an epidemic of their own. So this morning, let's start with a transparent, vulnerable moment with everybody. Like, is anybody out there, just a showing of hands, does anybody out there feel like you're rushing around too much these days, that the pace of life is too fast? Don't be shy now. It's okay to admit it. I was guilty 17 years ago when I first read Dr. Willard's advice, and sadly, I'm still guilty now. So this message, it's for me in this day and age, and it's for you as well. Let's have another showing of hands. Do you want a slower pace of life, one where you're more present in the moment? I need to have a few people here with their hands up, or because this is where we're going, okay? I do. Now, as I said, I have lucid moments of encounter during the day, but they only happen when I slow down enough in my mind to become aware of and open up to God's activity in the world and to God's activity within me. I hope this is making sense. It's really important. This is a fundamental part of the Spirit-filled life, becoming aware of his presence in the moment. Now, for me, it all starts in my morning quiet time chair. And Jesus calls us to this secret place where you pray, but not before others. Come away and pray in your secret place. And I recommend that to everyone that comes up to Three Crosses to set up a quiet time chair, the place that you go with to meet with God in the morning. And for me, it's got to be a cozy, comfortable place that I want to go with. A nice chair. I got my coffee next to me. I have my Bible there. Maybe I have a devotional that I'm reading. I prefer it to be right close to a little fireplace up there in Muskoka, although it's not that cold this winter. But I look forward to going there every morning. Like I actually want to get to that chair with my coffee. And it's become kind of a sacred space for me. And I actually have two of them now. I've got one for the winter and one for the summer. They're kind of different on how you look out around at the world around me out through the windows. But here, when I'm in the chair, my body is still, and my mind isn't rumbling down the track yet of the day's events. This is kind of what Jesus did. If we see him often early in the morning by himself, heading up a mountain to pray. During my morning quiet time, I like to read some scripture. I like to journal out my prayers, and as I do, I listen for his still small voice. And this meeting with God in the morning just seems to take the pressure off of my day, and it sets me at a different pace and a different level of awareness as I head into my day to better connect with God throughout the day. It's really important. At Three Crosses, the focus is just this: slow down, find rest, enter the present moment, and in order that you can become aware of and encounter God. And then what happens is you commune with him, and then you surrender to his leading. Now, I've learned that in order to encounter him, you have to kind of like Moses, at the burning bush, he stepped aside to see what's going on here. It's like you have to do that during your day. Sometimes you have to step aside of the busyness that you're in. And you know what? God really liked when Moses did that. He likes when we step aside. So I do have my moments of lucid awareness and transformative encounter, and they're wonderful. But like John Ortberg, I want more, you know. And lately I've been trying to live a slower pace of life, one where I become aware of God and encounter him and partner with him throughout the day. And it's hard, you know. I've got this little thing, I'm playing some of this like elevator music almost sometimes in the background because it just calms me down and slows me and helps me be present. But sometimes, like Ortberg, we want something, we want encounter, we want something to change, but we don't know the path to get there. And this is where the ACES cycle can help us. And it's part of a model of soul formation that I developed to complete the doctoral work that I did. Before we look at this ACES cycle, and we're going to look at it, I just want to talk briefly. I want to talk briefly to you about soul formation. What is that anyways? What is soul formation? At Three Crosses, I often use this image. I say, if you could reach inside yourself and pull out your soul, the metaphysical part of you, and pull it out and have a look at it, what would it look like? You know, now, I suspect that it wouldn't be perfectly glorious yet. I suspect that there'd be some bright, shiny spots on it where God has done some great renovating work within you, but there'd also be some dark spots, spots that are still undergoing renovation. While here on earth, through Jesus, we have the opportunity to have the Holy Spirit dwell within and lead us from within to shape and transform our souls, to change them from glory to glory. Make them brighter. Amen. And in fact, this is what being a Christian is all about. Now, Paul talks about this in 2 Corinthians 3:18. We have the Bibles here. If you want a Bible, just the people coming down the aisles there, you're looking at page 1646, 1646. And this is 2 Corinthians 3:18 for those of you who are like going to that verse some other way. 2 Corinthians 3:18. And I love this verse. It's got a lot in it. And we're just going to take a look at it and unpack it here for a moment, thinking about this process of soul formation. Because I think this verse just wraps it all up in a bow. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory. Some of the older translations say from glory to glory, which is, I love that phrase. Ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. This transformation into his image happens through the Spirit. But look at this. It happens as we contemplate the Lord's glory. Face to face. That's what happens on the mountain at Three Crosses. But you know what? It can also happen in your quiet time chair in the morning. And it can happen right in the middle of your day. So, okay, great. So what does it mean to contemplate the Lord's glory? What does that mean? Well, his glory is reflected by his character, by his goodness, by the scriptures, by his creation. Basically, the Lord's glory is constantly being revealed in life itself. And we are transformed just by thinking about and encountering his glory in life moment by moment. That's a good thing. Okay, so, but what are we being transformed into? Well, this verse tells us we're being transformed into his image. Well, his image. Now, that's pretty awesome. And as this is happening, it also says there's ever-increasing glory, that it's from glory to glory that this transformation is taking place. It's really amazing. We get to experience this. Okay. So now we got to ask the final question that this verse begs us to ask. What is being transformed? Is it our bodies? I think you got to go to the gym for that, but is it our minds? Is it our hearts? Well, yes, in a way, yes, it is those things. But what about our souls? That thing that I just said, pull out and take a look at? The essence of who you are at the very core? I mean, it's what we really bring to the table in any interaction we have with someone else. They can't see it, but they can sure sense it. the vibrant brightness or darkness of your soul? Does your soul reflect God's glory? And then I guess we could say, and in an ever-increasing way. Or is it reflecting the false glory of the current culture that we live in? Because we can do that too. Are we mostly all about us, and getting things? Got to get a little something for myself. Or all about others and praising God? Do we bring that sweet aroma of Christ in? Are we aware of him with us during the day? Are other people looking at us and into our eyes and seeing our connection that we have, our care for them? This is the way Jesus would be. So maybe another question, are we bearing the fruit of the Spirit as we're transformed into his image? So this is the difference that being aware of God and encountering him regularly makes. Because when we encounter him, we see and we feel and we contemplate this wonderful, beautiful glory. And in that place, we can sense and we know what the right thing to do. He leads us, he empowers us, he guides us, sometimes through feelings, sometimes through words, through scriptures. And as we surrender to that leading, then our souls are in turn shaped. And Paul, I think they become brighter. I think we reflect God's image more and more. And then I think those around us can tell that's what's happening. Come on, you probably know some people that reflect God's glory pretty well. I do. The shaping of the human soul is glorious. It's a glorious process. And it happens through the Spirit. It happens in the heart, mind, and body. And it transforms the soul. And the soul is the only thing that we take with us into eternity. We leave behind our physical bodies, our minds, but the soul is what goes with us. And the thing is that the soul, a transformed soul, is the only thing that can truly draw others into the kingdom. It's really hard to reach people in this day and age, intellectually, say. But if you bring into them the presence of Christ because your soul is being renewed in its glory, they sense that. They can feel that. It's true. People can sense the condition of your soul, whether it's full of darkness and sadness and hate or full of light and love and joy. You know what I'm talking about. You can probably think about some people in your life. Yeah, well, But we want to be reflecting God's goodness and glory, whether the Spirit's in charge or is the flesh in charge. And so this whole transformation process I just talked about, it's reflected in this ACES cycle. And so I'm going to just turn to that now. So soul formation begins when we stop and become aware of God's presence around us and within us. And that takes focus, and that takes discipline. You got to get to your quiet time chair. You got to stop in the middle of the day. You've got to slow down a bit and invite God to be with you. Or just he's with you. Recognize that he's with you. And this is the first stage of the cycle, awareness of God's presence. And for me, this just happens walking outside up in Muskoka. I mean, it's beautiful down here in farm country as well. But just looking at the trees or the clouds or the stars. It happened just the other night for me. I walked outside, the sky was crisp and clear, no wind and no clouds, and it was just glorious. I mean, it happens when I walk into my warm home and I'm like, thank you, Lord. This is wonderful. And he takes joy in that. He loves it when we do that kind of stuff. He loves for us to celebrate his goodness to us and the beauty of his creation. If I'm enjoying food, if I'm taking a warm shower, sometimes I'm just thankful. You think about it, 6,000 years of recorded history, I didn't have showers. In the last 80 years or so, we've had showers. Pretty nice thing. Let's be thankful. Let's be thankful. So whether it's, good food or the other pleasures of life, sometimes, it might be my thoughts that take me to that place of celebrating God. It might be my feelings that make me aware. Sometimes it's my body, diving into a lake or something. I mean, I was going to say sky jumping. I've never done that, but I'm sure it might be a real process. So opening up to awareness is just a simple shift in focus from you and your busy day to recognizing God's presence in and around you. Now, once we become aware of him, then we can proceed to seek an encounter with him. That's the next stage in this model. So we look for him to speak into things, to guide us, to lead us through the scriptures, through worship at times, and through his speaking voice, his still small voice within. And we can help you with that up at Three Crosses. When we encounter God in heart, mind, or body, he, his glory and goodness, usually calls us towards something, right? Come with me toward this, or he calls us away from something. That's not for you. That's not good. And so this leads to the next stage of soul formation, which is surrender, the surrender part. letting go. Like maybe moving from hate and unforgiveness in a relationship to love and forgiveness. Or maybe from addiction, tough one these days, to self-control and freedom. God helps us with these things if we're willing. And as we surrender to his leading and follow, we enter the final stage, the best stage, my favorite stage. He abides with us, okay? He abides with us, and we with him. And we experience a peace that passes understanding. You probably heard that phrase. That's where that peace that passes understanding comes, when we are connected with God, surrendered to the leading of his presence. Now here, I have a basic diagram of this model that I created during this work that I did. I think it's going to come up on, there it is. Now this is just like the basic model of that: awareness, encounter, surrender, abide. In each stage, the heart and the mind and the body are involved, or can be involved. And the yellow represents the glory of the Lord in the center of your soul, the Spirit. That's the transformed areas. That's the good stuff, right? Now the gray, it represents the work of the enemy or the flesh in your soul. And so every decision that we make has an impact in our formation, and that's why it's so important that we have God's Spirit and God's Word involved as we go through this life, this valley of decision. There is possibility for positive or negative soul formation in every moment or situation we face. And the pathway to positive soul formation involves awareness and encounter, which involves slowing down and eliminating hurry. Positive soul formation can happen. As I'm writing a message like this, I had a little bit of soul formation going on as I was working through what I was going to bring down here. Believe it or not, I was a bit apprehensive. I got to do 3 services, and so I had some stuff going on, working things out with Sophie, who was a great help in this message. If she didn't help me, it would be way longer. So we're gonna get to the end of this. But it can happen as you're fixing a car. It can happen as you're standing outside at night, or it can happen right in the middle of an argument, and it does happen. If you can slow down and recognize what God is saying, it can bring reconciliation fast. It can happen with an opportunity to give, and you just sense, this is what I'm supposed to do. And you surrender to that. It's a beautiful moment. It can happen in a birth. It could happen in a death. It could happen in a disagreement. These are all potential situations for soul formation in your life. I hope this is making sense to you. Let me just I'm going to add a few examples of situations that are exploding with opportunity for positive soul formation to this diagram. So they're going to come up here on the outside. These are just kind of some samples. There's an endless number of these things. But all these things God can work through for positive soul formation, but the voice of the enemy wants to use them for negative. Okay? So this cycle happens throughout the day. And if we stop hurrying our way through life and we simply slow down and we learn to become aware of God and encounter him in the moment and surrender to his leading, then your soul will be shaped in positive ways and you will learn to live freely and lightly in the unforced rhythms of his grace as you abide with him, as you partner with him to change you and the world. So here's an image of the cycle when you listen to the enemy's voice, okay? So just put that one up. That's the gray area, is the voice of the enemy speaking through money into your life for flesh formation. Hey, that happens a lot in this day and age, okay? Here's the cycle when you listen to God and surrender and over. This yellow area, the soul gets brighter. So this is God speaking into the mind and heart, bringing you aware through death. And that can happen. It depends on how you receive it. I was thinking earlier, my wife lost her mother this summer. It was very difficult. It wasn't expected. It happened fairly quickly. And, the enemy could take you down a negative path. It could have taken her to a place of negative soul formation, but she allowed God to work through that and use it for positive formation. So every situation you face is just, I want to say the word pregnant with possibility for positive soul formation. I don't know if I should say that or not. It's not in my notes. The Christian life is not just about, hey, Wes, how's the birth? That's a positive soul formation moment, isn't it? The birth of oh my goodness, yes. Congratulations on that. So what I want to say here is that the Christian life is not just about salvation and going to heaven, Okay? I mean, it's about that, but it's not just about that. It's about being transformed and sanctified on the inside. And that happens as you commune with the indwelling spirit in your innermost being in this life here and now. Changed at the very center of that diagram. Your soul, the eternal part. You want a whole lot of yellow in there. Because your soul, that's the only thing you're taking with you into eternity. And it's the best thing you have to draw others into the kingdom. I've seen it happen. I've seen people with vibrant, bright, shining souls, some of them even from your church, interact with unbelievers, and the unbelievers notice that there's something different about that person. And they listen to what they have to say about Jesus. So, okay, so back to Dr. Willard. Remember where we began this whole thing. If you go through this life rushing and hurrying from thing to thing, but you never slow down enough to actually become aware of and recognize God's presence all around you and within you at any given moment, because it's true right now, he's all around us right now, whispering to you if you want to open up and listen. But if you rush through everything, you'll miss out on positive soul formation. So, just to review here, the first step in this cycle is breaking free and becoming aware, ruthlessly eliminating hurry. The second step is to reach out and encounter God in the moment. Okay, that can be through prayer or worship or walking in the midst of green space or coming up to 3 crosses, taking a walk on the trails. The third step is surrender to the leading, to his leading. That's a tough step. And the fourth is abide. And 3 crosses is a place where you can come and you can find rest and you can get help in terms of nurturing this process of transformation, this changing from glory to glory. You can come in a group, you can come on your own, you can book some time with me, you just have to reach out to Sophie at 3 crosses, and come and visit us on the trails. I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for giving me your time this morning and giving me your listening ears, and hopefully your hearts, minds, and your soul this morning listening. But I'd like to thank basically Gateway as a whole. I want to thank you for your prayers. I want to thank you for your financial support over the years. I want to thank you for workers that come up and work so hard. I want to thank you for trail walkers that come. Every year for like 12 years now, we have at minimum 1 group, if not usually more, from you guys. You've been walking with us for a long time. And we exist in part because of you, that ministry, this ministry that's being built up there. Come and see us if you like. I'd like to close. I'd like to give you some snapshots, a bit of a video. This is more what happened this past summer. It's just a bit of a review. But it'll give you some idea of what it's like up there, because it's probably thinking, what is this place, 3 crosses? Well, this will put some picture to what we're saying. So let's play the video. You might recognize a few folks.
Fear of what comes after. Hold on for better days. Let a past begin to shatter. Days like these, we can see the way to live out a new chapter. come and go, so let this feeling grow. Finally see what we've always known, so let this feeling grow. These days come to life like a river keeps on winding. We know this is our time. Keep the memories that we're finding. Times like these come and go, so let this feeling grow. Finally see what we've always known, so let this feeling grow. Times like these come and go, so let this feeling grow. Finally see what we've always known, so let feeling grow. Times like these. Times like these.
If you want to come and visit Three Crosses, if you want to come and talk to me more about awareness, encounter, surrender, abide, and the model I developed, you can just talk to Sophie, my daughter. She's right there in the front seat. Yep, good, okay. She's my right hand. You can also support us. We do need financial help. We want Three Crosses to be here long after we're gone. That's kind of the bucket list for me. I want to be gone, and 40 years from now, that place is still there. We're growing a big sequoia tree here, and that takes time, but it takes money too. So the fees we charge don't cover the operating costs. So we fund this by faith in God's people to give and support it so that people can come and have transformative experiences. And that's really what happens. And it's not really anything special that we do. It's something that God does. And it's something that I think the hearts and minds of the people who come, they're so focused on it that it just explodes into potential. There's a link to the website and a couple other things there. So now I'm going to transition over into, you can see the